If you're looking for a game that's going to scratch that Souls-like itch with some really satisfying combat mechanics, you are in the right place. As someone who played the demo for hours, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about the First Berserker Khazan. I will also provide my pros and cons so far, and hopefully my honest thoughts will help you decide if this game is for you. The DXRacer Metaphor Refantazio gaming chair provides comfort and style to meet performance. With cutting-edge technology, this beast from the drifting chair series is built for long hours of gaming and work. But here's the best part, use my code JRPG Samurai at checkout for an exclusive 5% off, only for you my lords and ladies. Get yours now, and for more details, head to the description section below. The story of the First Berserker Khazan takes place in the 89th year of the Pell-Lost Empire. The main character, Great General Khazan, is wrongly accused of treason by the empire he faithfully served. Khazan was forced into exile in the snowy mountains and was freed by a mysterious entity from the netherworld. After barely making it out alive, Khazan ultimately confronted the entity to form a pact. The demo doesn't really show how much about the story, since I think the devs are saving all of the good stuff for the full release. But the setup has me intrigued, and I can't wait to know the story on the full release. When they first released the trailer for Khazan, the first thing that I noticed was the game's insane visuals. Character models pop out, and the attention to detail is simply commendable and top of the line. Not just the character models, but you can see the developers put in tremendous effort into making the world detailed as well, ensuring that it will match the dark setting of Khazan. As its core, the First Berserker Khazan follows the classic Souls-like formula that we all know and love. You've got everything here: managing your stamina in fights, customizing your character stats, and gearing up with different equipments and accessories. The game has you exploring these dark, creepy caves where you will need your lantern for extra visibility, along with some decent-sized open areas to check out. All the familiar Souls-like features are here too. You'll be unlocking shortcuts, looting gear from dead bodies and chests, and activating these checkpoints called Battered Blade Nexus, or your bonfires where you can level up your stats. Of course, if you die, you will need to make that classic corpse run to get your lacrima or souls back. As a Souls-like game, players will be traversing areas littered with enemy placements and mildly intricate layouts. In the First Berserker Khazan, players will be exploring snowy mountains, dark caves, and citadels as far as the demo goes. Along the way, finding loot on dead bodies and gear from chests placed on strategic points, and there are hidden ones. After progressing enough, players will be fighting major bosses, which is the meat of this game and where the action heightens. Expect strategic and ruthless encounters. Players need to carefully time their attacks, parries, and dodges. The whole gameplay loop is all about depleting your enemy fortitude gauge to break their stance, and when you do that, you get to land these brutal strikes known as critical strikes that just chunk their health bar. Think of it as a lighter version of Sekiro, like some attacks need specific counters, but it's not as intense as Sekiro's combat. But the flow, it definitely has that Sekiro DNA, and it works beautifully. I've got to talk about attack animations and executions, as every hit feels meaty and the movement feels are fluid, and the combat choreography is just absolutely on point, making the whole combat feel satisfying, especially if one managed to adjust to its demanding combat and start mixing normal attacks and special skills. If you're getting value out of this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Liking the video and engaging in the comments helps me a lot. Thank you for your support. Being a Souls-like at its core, you've got all the good stuff that we love. Character customization, familiar Souls-like stats to play with, and Khazan even has a weight rating. As expected, Khazan levels up by using a currency called lacrima, your souls or runes in this game, to increase his stats, which makes him stronger in the long run. Players will be able to spend lacrima when interacting with the Battered Blade Nexus, which are the bonfires in this game. You'll be able to play with the following stats: vitality, endurance, strength, willpower, and proficiency to determine the outcomes of your builds. When it comes to weapon variations, this is where the game blows up pretty quickly. The combat is already satisfying enough. What if we add more customization and gameplay layers by adding different weapons to master in combat? In the demo, I managed to master the Greatsword weapon type, which is pretty standard for dealing heavy-hitting hits but trading for a slow movement and attack speed, while a spear lets user perform violent thrust attacks with overarching slashes. Its ideal long range can be an advantage in a lot of ways. While Khazan's starter weapon, the dual-wield sword and axe, can overwhelm enemies with quick slashes and maneuvers. Each weapon type has its own skill tree where players can empower a specific weapon type. Upgrades can be unlocked by spending skill points, which can be obtained when using the weapon in the field. Skill tree upgrades range from new attack movesets, additional combos, connecting maneuvers, lessening stamina usage, and more. If you want to experiment, no worries about that. Skill tree upgrades can be respec anytime, just in case if you want to try another weapon type. I believe we will be having more weapon types on release, and so far the greatsword, dual wield, and spears are the ones available in the demo, but that's not all. Each weapon type has its own set of weapons that you can find as you progress in the game. Different weapons have different raw stats and stat scaling, readying the player for different types of builds. The armor system is exactly what you expect: helms, armors, gauntlets, pants, and greaves, plus you will get your talisman and ring slots for additional stats. I'm not sure if the accessory slots will be increased at late game, but for now we can only access 2 slots. But here's the cool part, armor sets give you set bonuses, which adds another layer to building your characters. As the player progresses in the game, they will be getting identical armor pieces with different levels and rarities. Of course, the higher the item level, the higher the stats it provides. Bosses of course drops better gear, so when defeating bosses, not only you will be rewarded with glory, but with great rewards as well. When it comes to performance, running this bad boy at 4K, maintaining 120 FPS like it's nothing. Know that you do have an option to go over 120 FPS, it's just that my monitor is locked at 120 FPS, so if you have a monster 4K monitor that can go up to way past 120, that is not going to be a concern. The stylized graphics really help here, and I haven't hit any performance dips or issues at all, and this is expected since this game is not that demanding graphically. As for the replayability, it is too early to tell how long the game will be, but judging the recent Soulslike experience, I'm assuming that we will have 20 to 30 hours of experience just for the main scenario. We currently don't have any information if there will be a New Game Plus mode, but most likely there will be since this is a Soulslike game. Of course, I will be updating everyone on its proper review. With a hefty price of $59.99 USD for the standard edition and $69.99 USD for the deluxe edition, I can see a lot of players being skeptical about this one. Again, if you want to wait for the actual reviews before buying the game, that's completely understandable. But as for me, I will be buying the game just for the combat alone because it's that good. But of course, I will be updating you guys if it's totally worth it soon enough. The First Berserker Khazan will be released on March 27, 2025 on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. As promised, I will be sharing my pros and cons for Khazan, at least in my experience, and there are a couple of things that bug me. Cons first, and the first one on the list is the level progression is pretty linear, which is my biggest gripe so far. But keep in mind that the areas available in the demo are just the starting areas, so this might change in the full release. Also, as someone who spent hundreds of hours in Sekiro doing no damage runs, I couldn't help but notice some familiar movesets, especially with the Yeti monsters. Like if you fought the ape boss in Sekiro, you're going to get some serious deja vu in here. Any Sekiro veteran is going to spot this right away. I'm hoping that I will not encounter more repurposed moves in the full release, or else this is going to be a major turnoff. The good thing is, there are a lot of positive things to talk about. The combat system is just addictive, although I mentioned that it is not as good as Sekiro. The level of polish of this game has in terms of combat is way up there. Perfect parrying enemy attacks consecutively is indeed rewarding while the enemy gets punished since its stamina gauge gets depleted. As mentioned, the combat is already offering good things to the table. The weapon system is, I think, the main reason why the combat felt great because of its deep mechanics. Each weapon type feels unique and worth mastering, and you can feel that the devs put some serious thought into balancing each weapon's strength and weaknesses. You'll be given a vast selection of movesets to mix and match and fit into your playstyle. If you know your stuff, you can punish enemies during DPS windows with multiple flashy strikes, maximizing damage. I'm constantly excited to unlock new moves, so this got me hooked. And believe me, the gameplay that you are seeing is barely scratching the surface. I mentioned that the overall visuals of this game caught my attention firsthand, and the game stayed true to it. I so love this art style. Cel-shaded models reminds me of Borderlands in some ways. It is pretty much close to the JRPG art style as well, and how I wish more games look like this. The sound design, on the other hand, is absolutely on point. The tension between hits, grunts, animation sound effects, or the exploration ambience sounds great so far. But the voice acting takes it home in my case, as Ben Starr voiced General Khazan, so expect good things from here. You'll be hearing familiar voices from the FromSoft series as well. The difficulty feels just right, but not a cakewalk either, which what I am looking for a Souls-like title. Bosses tend to pose challenges, and of course, major bosses will provide the full experience. In my case, this game did not disappoint. When I died, I knew it was all my fault, not the game's being unfair. I can't wait to see what other boss fights they got planned for the full release. The demo got me excited about this game and left a strong impression. The combat has me totally hooked, it's dynamic and satisfying, and that fortitude gauge system makes every fight engaging. If this is just the beginning, I can't imagine what the late game combat is going to be like. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you are going to be playing this game or what you think about the First Berserker Khazan. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.